Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of LaVena Johnson, who was an E3 private first class in the United States Army, who was found dead in a tent on July 19th of 2005, just a few days shy of her 20th birthday. Now LaVena, being a 5'1" African-American honor student, enlisted in the Army immediately after graduating from Hazelwood Central High School. She was deployed to Iraq and stationed in Balad, I think that's how you pronounce it. She had been there for 8 weeks before her death on July 19th, 8 days before her 20th birthday, as it said right there. Now, the Army initially ruled it as a self-afflicted death, but people are suspecting that they might be covering something up. In particular, when her father actually went to view her body, he became suspicious because her body looked quite battered. She had a broken nose, a black eye, loose teeth, and burns from a corrosive chemical on her private parts, and a gunshot wound to the mouth. And the autopsy report also confirmed this and stated that the wound to the mouth seemed inconsistent with a self-afflicted death. Some reporters suspected that the chemical burns were the result of attempts to destroy DNA evidence of an assault, and there was also bloody footprints found outside of her living quarters. Now, who found those? I don't know, because if you were to go by the Army's official statement, she did this herself, and I don't think they mentioned anything about bloody footprints, so who investigated this scene right there? That's what I'd like to know. But several attempts have been made to have them reopen this case. Several people have made petitions. A lot of people have signed said petitions. The only way they actually got the Army to release information was to invoke the Freedom of Information Act, and this only happened after Representative William Lacey Clay Jr. raised questions about it at the congressional hearings over Pat Tillman's death, who also died under suspicious circumstances. But these petitions haven't really led to anything. It says here on July 19, 2011, the criminal justice students in the Cold Case Investigative Research Unit selected Johnson's case as their case for investigation. The CCIRI's crime scene reconstruction aimed to help shed light on this case that has attracted worldwide attention. The CCIRI investigation did not agree with nor dispute the Army's findings. Now, Cheryl McCollum, who is connected to this institute, calls the case gut-wrenching. She also said that the institute normally spends 1 year on a case, but in this case they spent 3 years on LaVena's case. In a phone interview with St. Louis Public Radio, McCollum said that she faults the Army for poor communication, but she does not disagree with his conclusion, stating the problem is, number one, the way the notification happened and the lack of information given to that family fast enough. There was nothing about this case that we could go back to the Army to say, you need to relook at this. We didn't have anything new. We didn't have anything that suggested wrongdoing. I don't know how she can make that conclusion. Of course, she is somebody who is part of this institution. She probably knows her thing. But most people, when even just hearing the autopsy report, will go, well, I don't know if this is really a self-afflicted death here that we're looking at. And I'm not sure what the official explanation is. It doesn't really say how the Army or the official documents, I guess, claim she got all those wounds and the chemical burns. I don't know. And other people also have these questions and would like to have answers, but the article on this is fairly short. And at least according to this Wikipedia article, there isn't a new investigation into her death yet, as far as I know. It says here the page was last edited on the 2nd of December 2022, so this is fairly recent what's on here, as long as everybody has, of course, put the most recent information on there that they had. So currently no investigation. We don't know what happened. It seems very odd, and that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case. And in order to do so, we're going to start off with the Urban Tarot deck, which is currently on the table. And for any further questions, we're moving on to the Deviant Moon deck, which is this one. Now, as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the cards. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Alright, we're starting off with the Prince of Wands, which is the Knight of Wands in this deck, with the Lovers in reverse, and a Prince of Swords, who is the Knight of Swords upright. So, let's grab these three. Now, I feel like this is two people, neither of whom is LaVena. And I think these are two people that may have been interested in her or something, because when I got these two in particular, the first thing that came to mind was a couple that may have been like friends or something. Not a couple, but like a couple of guys that were friends and that kind of had this interest in her, and they knew about each other having that interest in her. So it's kind of like they're each other's wingmen in a way, and they're trying to get her interested in hanging out with them, and she's just not interested in any of their advances. So possibly multiple people trying to egg her on and get some attention or something like that, but she's not interested. And we see here the next card is the Eight of Swords right here, and it's in reverse, so we're not actually falling into this trap. So I kind of feel, particularly because of this journalist card here, which looks to be somebody who's pretty energetic, possibly also fairly popular, that draws a lot of attention, is very flashy, very loud, at least in their character, may have a few people already on his team because of it, but she's not really interested, she's not really falling for that. It's also interesting that, of course, this card has a television set on it, and it's kind of like the journalist is normally on TV and people sit and watch the TV for hours without actually really thinking about anything, but she's like, no, I'm not interested in your show, I'm just going to do my own thing. Now this causes some strife here. We have the Five of Swords next, it's in reverse. So this could be an internal struggle, internal argument in her own mind, or it could be that people are kind of arguing in the background or something along those lines. Harsh words may be spoken here. Could also mean that there's a conflict that's kind of under wraps. Like if you're in a situation where you have a public setting, but you don't really like somebody, there might be small jabs under the belt, so to speak, to try and get your point across without being too obvious about these things. Almost like office politics, when there's somebody that doesn't like you, they're not going to outwardly say, I don't like you. They just go out of their way to be annoying, get in the way, try to get jobs before you can, and go, oh, I didn't know you were interested in that. Oh, that's interesting. Well, too bad. I got it, without like being openly hostile, but what their intention is. Kind of like that seems to be going on over here. Small jabs. Then we have here the Aeon card, which is a judgment card in this deck. And when I saw that dropping, the first thing that came to mind was her basically saying, well, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not that type of girl. Like, I have a whole history behind me, because in this card you can also see this person walking past this wall with all these names, and then in reflection you see somebody wearing an old-fashioned dress. So almost like connecting to the past, like she kind of stood feeling like a line of ancestors behind her, maybe even like that type of dignity that she felt about her own person, and using that to say, I'm not really interested in your games because it's not really for me, try somebody else, like that type of thing. So maybe that's a judgment here. She kind of judged them to be not of her level, and in any case judged herself to be worth more than whatever it is that they may have been suggesting. Next card that we see here is the Seven of Wands. It's in reverse, and that is people normally coming for your position. It's a protest, basically. Oop, I'm dropping it. So it kind of maybe also wanted to turn on its side, but in any case, normally the Seven of Wands is people coming for your position. It could be losing face. It could, in this case, since it's in reverse and kind of wanted to turn on its own, that it was kind of half publicly losing face, similar to this Five of Swords over here. Kind of people like rumbling in the background about her and how she's judging them, and they're not really happy with that. Just kind of like people turning sour in the background. Then we have here the Star, so now we have a lot of focus on us, and we have the Knight of Discs, which in this deck is the King of Discs, so the King of Pentacles, in other words. Somebody's pretty good with resources, pretty good with his hands. You can see this is a master chef, or the gourmet chef, so this person really knows how to handle himself. And then the last one on this line is the Knight of Cups, in other words, King of Cups, in reverse. This King of Cups in particular, when it's in reverse, is a very sly dog, sly person. I've repeatedly pointed out that there is a crab in that drink over there, and there's fire in the background. So basically somebody who is here to put out the fires or make people pretend like there isn't any fire to begin with. So this may be somebody who is fixing the problem. And I think in combination with the Knight of Pentacles next to each other, kind of like these might be higher ups that have come together. They've seen that the situation is drawing attention and they're trying to make it disappear, kind of sweep it under the rug, keep everybody quiet, try to keep everybody focused on whatever it is that they want them to be focused on instead of focusing on her. So this whole thing was known, I imagine, to the entire area there. The people that were around her probably knew about the situation, even though these two on the end tried to make it as subtle as possible and possibly tried to make the problem go away. It doesn't actually say in these cards, but I feel like they may have attempted to possibly get her stationed somewhere else. That may have been in the cards. I think that would mostly have been our Knight of Pentacles, who is, of course, well, King of Pentacles in this case, very practical minded and possibly somebody who tends to put people in certain positions where they think that they fit the most. And then the King of Cups there in the end is more for keeping people emotionally on the right level through manipulation, because it is in reverse. So I think that we're either on the date itself or we're right in front of it, like nearly there. Now let's see what else we can find. Let's go to the Deviant Moon deck next. Oh. 3 on the table, 2 on the floor. Let me grab those 2 first. There. Okay, let's start with the 3 on the table first. So we have here Page of Wands. Alright, so we are making some very careless moves. We've got the Ace of Cups, so that is a new attempt possibly for some new emotional connection being made. And the Four of Cups, not really wanting to connect with any of these options. It feels like rejection. So somebody made a bold move here with the Page of Wands, thinking, hey, maybe I can convince her to do the things that I want. Pages are often a little bit more impulsive because they're a little bit juvenile still. They're still growing up in their energy, and this is probably a very quick and not well thought through attempt at getting her to join in whatever it is that they wanted, which is this. This is the suggestion right here, and this is the rejection of that suggestion right here with the Four of Cups in reverse. So it kind of seems to me like she wasn't interested, but what I often see with the Four of Cups in reverse is that there is no other option than one of these 4. Like, you don't want to make the choice, but you have to. So she may have felt pressured into actually choosing one of the routes at least that they were offering. And if there only was one route on offer, then that's the only route, of course, that she could have chosen. We have here, this is the Nine of Cups in reverse, not feeling very good about that. Possibly their genie is out of the bottle, literally on this card, so maybe she has no choice but to go along with it. And then we see the option in more clarity, in more detail, and it's really not something that she wants, but it's also not something that she can walk away from because death is in reverse here. So unable to walk away from the situation or start something new. This card, of course, also sees somebody keeping a smaller creature literally pressed down so it cannot get off of its knees. It can't go anywhere. It can't change anything about its situation. And so there is no more options for them. At least they're not agreeing to them. They're not interested, but they also can't walk away. So I think if any points in this reading were to suggest the actual events taking place, I think it's this first line here with the Deviant Moon cards. Alright, so we know the result of that. Let's see what else we can get after that. So after the facts, how do we end up with the current ruling? Knight of Cups over here. Or he really wants to focus on himself. Interesting that it jumped right over to these two cards right here, which kind of describe the whole event and what took place there. I feel like this person, probably the perpetrator, doesn't really want to think too much about it and only really focuses on their own needs in this case. May even be somebody who is saying, well, if only she had done this, then none of that would have happened, like victim blaming, that type of thing. So somebody who is definitely not going to look objectively at their own part in this situation. And they may have been able to manipulate other people into thinking the same thing because they are in reverse, after all, which usually means manipulation. So possibly they're getting other people on board with believing their side of things. We have strength in reverse. All right, so there's no strength here. Possibly the strength lacking in leadership, or the people around them that should have done more. They didn't have the strength to actually do so. Like there were people possibly that had to do an investigation, that had to go and ask questions, had to, I guess, log everything at the scene, something like that, because of course it is a very unusual way to find somebody, the way that she was actually found, at least from the autopsy report. We know that a lot happened there, and somebody still looked at that and decided to not call it out for what it definitely looked like, or at least try to investigate it as such. We have a card that fell right here off camera. It is the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so there is at least somebody, maybe one or two people that are like, okay, well, this is kind of like something that was in the making for some time now, and it was only a matter of time. That's basically what this card is trying to say. Like somebody already kind of knew this person over here with the journalist in the background here, and they probably have had similar events with them in the past where the person that they were interested in possibly walked away from it, but they probably knew, whoever this person is or these people are, that it couldn't go well forever, that there was going to be an event at some point where the chickens would come home to roost. So somebody at least had some idea that this may happen at some point. Now, the strength card, of course, is right next to them, so they also didn't have the strength previously to report any of this or to possibly call it out in front of the person themselves. So this may be somebody whom is under their control, or at least not strong-willed enough to make a difference. That one. Queen of Pentacles. Alright, so they are a fairly practical-minded person. Okay, that may actually be a reference to our King of Pentacles over here. So this may actually be a reference to the same person, now in a lesser energy. Step back a little bit. And basically this is them possibly trying to juggle everything to make something happen to keep everything calm, because we saw before that our King of Pentacles over there, our gourmet chef, likes to keep people in certain spots where he thinks that they need to be. At least he's that type of methodical person. And now we see him at the end of these cards right here, possibly being the one to go, well, that was something that was definitely going to happen at some point, and now we're just gonna have to deal with it. And he's trying to keep all these plates spinning, possibly managing it somehow. Well, they definitely managed to get the official reports to lean in their way instead of through, I guess, more of an investigation with an explanation as to why she ended up in that state. So I think they're making their appearance now at the end of these two cards to kind of sweep up after the situation that they had already seen coming, that they just didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So this is damage control on their behalf. Smaller stack slipped out. Let's see, what do we need from here? Wondering if we're going to see anything about whether this is going to be revealed at some point. Which one of these cards do we need? This one and those two. Okay. Right. We have Ace of Swords. Alright, so we are definitely initiating something. A new thought has cropped up. Some type of new direction. Something that they're really going for, because this Ace of Swords looks very actionable and definitely has a look in their eye of dedication, a definite focus. But we are also trying to save what's left of our fortune here with this Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles in this case is somebody who is being led into a bad situation while hoarding whatever it is that they can grab. I guess they're looking back at possibly people that might want to take their last Four of Pentacles or their wealth or something. And meanwhile, they don't know that they're heading into a worse situation. So I feel like their plan over here was meant to save things, but ultimately ended up making things worse, which I guess is what this whole situation now is, because the case has gotten international attention, as the Wikipedia page also said. So they're trying to keep things from falling apart and thereby only making things worse. Then we have the Five of Cups, but it's in reverse. Normally Five of Cups is crying over spilled milk and not really looking at what you've got left. And in this case, they're not even really wanting to do either. They're not acknowledging what happened and also ignoring what it is that they've got left. So it's kind of like this pandemonium situation where they're like trying to just lead their life. As you can see, this person over there sitting on a wall is plugging their ears like la 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 la, not happening, not happening. This, I think, is also a reference to how they're not willing to look into this situation again. And the whole spill is not being cleaned up for as long as they are ignoring the situation. I think that's what these cards are saying. So they're damage controlling still, and in a sense they're even ignoring that there is damage to control in the first place. Are we ever going to see a resolution, the actual truth coming out? A new investigation is going to go into the actual facts. Let's see what we can get about that. Oop. One of them fell off screen. It is the Princess of Swords, which is the page. And we have here Knight of Wands, which is basically the King of Wands on its side. So it's kind of leaning towards being in reverse, but I'm going to keep it like this for now. So we have a Wands and a Sword card. Page of Swords is very quick to speak, very quick to act. They are on top of a podium here with a megaphone, so this is also a little bit of an activist type of thing. So this may be representing people who are trying to speak out. They may not be speaking out in the best way possible, like it's a little bit too much a single-minded focus, I want to say, because often when you see a protest or something, there's people that are well-intentioned, but they often only really transmit part of a message, and that means that the other side of the argument doesn't really feel like engaging with them, because they're like, yeah, well, that's not the whole story, blah blah blah. So I'm thinking that people may not be approaching the situation in the right way in order to get this investigation done. And as we saw earlier, we're dealing with a King of Pentacles, and a King of Pentacles is very methodical, and they probably, if they are going to ever reveal the truth, need somebody to come in and approach it with a protocol. Like they have to go through the appropriate channels, they have to go through the appropriate people, fill out the right forms, put it in threefold or whatever it is that they need, and then they might give you exactly that one thing that you have requested through this whole channel. So they're kind of probably keeping things at bay by sticking to protocol, sticking to the rules, and keeping things quiet that way. And then we have here this King of Wands. So that is somebody who is fairly actionable, but they might be doing the wrong thing, or they might be kind of confused in what they're doing. So I feel like this might be somebody who's trying to be a positive influence in this case, but they're kind of charging off. It kind of reminds me of the Knight of Swords card that's in the Rider-Waite deck, where you see somebody sitting on the back of a horse and just kind of flying off with the wind basically in their face, and you see the clouds going crazy in the background, just kind of chasing the mills, the windmills, so to speak. Possibly fighting battles that aren't needed and investing time and energy in the wrong thing. But it is somebody who is very energetic. As you can see, this is the rock star. Rock stars tend to have a lot of energy, at least when they're performing. They have lots of energy about them. This may be somebody as well who is a performer, because it is coming out as the rock star, so it may be somebody who's fairly well known, but they might be barking up the wrong tree, and perhaps if they took a little step back to get out of that wands energy, which is very fiery and very impulsive, they may have a moment to think and then possibly have the right direction to go into. But right now they appear to be barking up the wrong tree, even though they are probably very well intentioned. And this of course is going against what I was just talking about with our King of Pentacles. He wants probably people to go through the protocol, and this King of Wands on its side is definitely not going to do that. They're going to want to force things, and our King of Pentacles is not going to be interested in that. So here we have the Prince of Discs, which is the Knight of Discs, Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we're also not methodically working on the right thing either, or we're working on the wrong thing methodically. And the Four of Pentacles is back and it's in reverse. Okay, so we had the Four of Pentacles earlier as well, trying to invest things. And it's interesting that we have this investment card next to the Day Trader, which is here the Knight of Pentacles. So people are investing things, what they feel is methodically, but it's the wrong thing, and investments are being wasted. Possibly this is also a reference to the different petitions that were held. Whatever it is that people might be doing right now might be a little bit too scattered. It's not quite well invested, and it is wasting time and valuable resources. So people who are working on this case may need to come together, like possibly group resources, to try and get this done together. Let's see if we can get some final cards on this case. Like, are we ever going to see this result that we're looking for? We have the Five of Wands. Okay, so there is some strife here. People are arm wrestling. Could be we're looking at a baseball match in the background. At least baseball diamonds are in the background, two of them. So it might be two different games being played. So this is probably also referencing the fact that people are kind of spread out with their actions and their resources, possibly maybe even going against each other. I feel like this may be a couple organizations or a couple of groups of people that want to be the first to have a resolution, possibly, and they're fighting over the honor to be the first ones. You could also even see this as different types of channels, maybe even different Reddit communities that like to solve crime, trying to race to a resolution instead of working together, something like that. Like there's just a couple of people, a couple of forces trying to work for good, and they're very fiery about it, but they're working against each other, which is probably not going to help solve this case. Right, a couple more cards, and then I think we've got the picture. Nine of Cups again. And again in reverse. So I don't think we're going to see a very happy ending. Like this disharmony is just leading to people not coming to a resolution, not anytime soon in any case, and just stopping the progress because of it. People in the background are just kind of doing their own thing as well. I don't know if you can see them. They're fairly far away. Let me just grab this over here. Now normally this would be a nice picnic scene with a bunch of people in the background just enjoying the late afternoon sun, late or early evening sun, coming together, barbecuing, and just enjoying their time, playing with the dog, blah blah blah. But it's almost kind of like they're off in the distance doing their own thing while this food and this drink is kind of abandoned. And in this case, the food and the drink, I think, represents a resolution to the case, and they're just kind of off doing their own thing while ignoring things that may be right there for them to look at. So I feel like it's going to take some time if we're ever going to see a resolution, because people need to come together. and possibly work together, make one big fund, make one big attempt at contacting perhaps one particular senator or representative, because they got the information by contacting a politician and having them basically bring it up during the whole investigation about Pat Tillman. We need another one of those instances, I guess, to get somebody involved who can really get things done the proper way. And it's probably going to take a long time, but these different efforts that are just kind of occurring at the same time and possibly trying to compete as well are definitely not going to be it. So that is what I'm seeing for LaVena Johnson. I hope you found it interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you'd like to subscribe, of course, that's even better. If you have a case you would like me to do, make sure to click the link to the anonymous Google form in the description of the video. You can submit the case there so I can keep everything in one place. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in another video, and bye-bye for now.